we would love to invite Stephen King, and we're delighted to be hearing from them as a gold sponsor of FinTech as a Force for Good as well. Stephen King leads Visa's Sustainable Solutions team in Europe, a newly created role designed to support Visa in offering sustainability-focused payment solutions to its clients. So to tell us more, Stephen, can I please have you on stage?
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Very excited and very grateful to be here and discuss the power of FinTech and the power that we can use to transform commerce, all through partnership. Thank you to Innovate Finance as well for demonstrating its leadership across the FinTech community that brings together the best to accelerate the journey that we're on. Humans have that incredible capacity both to imagine the future and bring people together to create it, and events like today bring that optimism that we can all partner together to do that. My work at Visa, as mentioned, started about 18 months ago after a career in banking and consultancy and sustainability. And I wanted to share in my remarks 3 things that we're seeing, hearing, and how we're partnering to deliver. So seeing in the industry, what are the forces of change, what we're hearing from our clients, both on the issuer and the merchant side, all coming together, and how we're approaching partnerships in order to enable that shift that's happening. So as you might know, being a consumer yourself, Visa's often maybe mistaken as being your credit card or your debit card, but it has gone through a tremendous transformation, really. Maybe the original FinTech, but definitely a big FinTech now to a lot of the issuers, a lot of the banks out there, reducing friction, increasing the capacity and the ability for types of money movements to happen. So that's person to person, it's business to business, it's business or person to business now, citizen to government, all of those types of exchanges. We're interested in all of them, and how, and seeing that digitization and cash and that money movement happen, how can we continue to accelerate that? So in that relationship that we have between the person that wants to get paid and the person that's paying, and being one of the most trusted brands in order to make that happen, how can we forge that and meet the climate need that we have out there and be a transformative power as people seek to buy maybe different things, maybe less, maybe different ways of buying, but also what needs to be sold to them. And that sustainable choice or intersecting between those two, as consumers look to align their values in this changing environment, how can we be that intermediary in between? So Peter Drucker famously said, show me your bank statement and your calendar, and it will show you what you really value. And so much of that shift that we are going through is about values, what we value, and FinTech has actually always been an enabler of that, starting with transparency and that agility to meet customers' need. I think if you look at any FinTech scores, their net promoter scores are always in the 70s and 80s because they're able to do that faster than anyone else. It was mentioned earlier, look to what the banks do badly or don't do at all, and see if you can be that intersection and find a way to enable what is not currently being met. Now, we have a tremendous opportunity with transaction data to be a starting point for that transformation. We can do this manually, but transaction data is a source for truth, as Peter Drucker sort of suggests. And what you can only manage what you measure, and this becomes an enabler, really, for consumers, but also for businesses to get going. Now, we're only at the beginning of this journey, and much like calories, you might start with a number, but we all know it's much more complicated than that. You're equating a number, but then there's activity, and then there's what that number will actually correspond to, and that's really where we're moving and where the next frontiers will be. And maybe like calories, we then went into carbs and proteins and fats and sugar and salt, and the debate still continues about whether it was calorie counting or 5 a day or celebrity chefs that actually were the things that transformed the way we eat, or was it the gym? And so I think we're going to see a whole myriad of things that are going to enable this shift. And while that baseline is great, the consumers need to match their values, and the whole ecosystem needs to play a role in terms of meeting that. So what are the signals? And it's not only true for money flows and the purchases you make from moving, traveling, buying, and eating, but also the financing that's needed to make this transition for both consumers and for businesses. So these shift in behaviors, they need the investment in the infrastructure on energy and transport, things like EV, things like the energy transformation that's happening. And banks are all parts of that ecosystem are shifting. And this FinTech is moving to climate tech solutions, and some of those folks are here today with us. Now this shift is happening, but also, as everyone has talked about earlier this morning, high inflation rates and high interest rates have caused a bit of a staggering or slowdown potentially in that movement. But this, I think, has actually pushed even harder for these solutions to be without sacrifices. So it can't just be about being sustainable. It has to meet the first requirements about the health, about your costs, about everything that you want in your community, and be sustainable at the same time. So a higher bar, but again, aligning so that the money matches your values. So what are we seeing, and now what are we hearing? So Mark Carney suggests that we're seeing a shift of the Industrial Revolution, the size of the Industrial Revolution at the speed of the digital revolution. Now this is happening primarily in energy and transport, but now across all of manufacturing as we see this shift from linear to circular economy. And that consumer and that citizen is now, report after report, we're seeing the highest levels now of concern about climate, right on the same level as human rights. And so what do? They're looking to seek ways to change their lifestyles. That lifestyle is being met now by businesses that are looking to innovate and meet that need. And they're going to do that faster and faster if there's government incentives. So that's the cycle that way. And why do governments do that? Because they know they have the support of the citizen in order to make that change. Now the other side happens as well. So regulatory is the other lever. So regulatory change is being able to accelerate not only change sector by sector, but a whole system-wide change with that lever of regulation, and it was talked about in almost one of the first panels. Now, sustainability is one of those things. It's not a subject. It is like digitization. It becomes across all of the different areas, and it's quite disruptive because of that. And we know that when society sets that clear goal, it becomes profitable to be part of the solution, and it starts to cost more and more money if you remain as one of the folks that aren't contributing to be part of that solution. And so with that momentum building, we're starting to see ecosystems that actually are showing these tipping points. So sometimes it happens really slowly, it goes and goes, and then it really moves. So if we take ourselves back maybe 10, 15 years ago, that happened in this industry with contactless. You know, after some difficult technical requirements, we had tons of readers, we had tons of cards, and what in the end made that shift happen? That flywheel was eventually enabled, and there's not always rewards for first movers in all technical areas, but I think in sustainability the rules might be slightly different, where there's both the head and the heart leading us towards some change, and we all know brands that are winning profit shares, market shares, and they're moving quite quickly. So on my last point around partnerships, all of this ecosystem change won't happen unless there's partnerships. Sustainability is definitely a collaboration game. And as a B2B business, we innovate with our clients, who are both issuers and merchants. We have some of our great partners here today with Ecolytic and Plan A, and they bring expertise, capabilities, and really reassurance for our innovators in order to be able to move. And we need those first movers. We have fast followers in vast supply, we always do, but who are going to be the first movers and how do we get there? Now, if you know the French word for courage, or you know the French word for heart, sorry, it's very close to the word courage. And someone mentioned on the last panel that this is going to be more about the heart and more about courage in order for us to move. And the most common question I get as I talk to all of the different parts of the ecosystem is, how do I get started? And I think this creates such an opportunity because it isn't just a subject, it is across everything. And so my answer always is innovate with what's in front of you. Look to see how to make that small idea bigger and how to move innovation from what you see in front of you, where can you make small changes, and you will be part of a system that will move together. It is overwhelming at times, but everyone has that opportunity to get started. So with my time running out, and a coffee break promised, I will leave you there. I look forward to the rest of the day and speaking at the break, and we're always looking to seek partnerships and partners that can help accelerate sustainable consumption and behavior in the ecosystem. So thanks very much.